G'day and welcome to another one of my videos. We're just going to have a look at the basics of adding and subtracting fractions today. So the key idea of adding or subtracting fractions without the aid of a calculator is to have the denominators the same numbers. Another important part is to always simplify fractions if possible. So for example, if I ate 3 out of the 8 pieces of pizza and you ate 2 out of the 8 pieces, then altogether we ate 5 out of the 8 pieces. So let's use a diagram to indicate that. So I ate 3 out of the 8. So let's say I ate those 3. And you ate 2 out of the 8. So my 3 and your 2 means altogether we had 5 out of the 8. So you'll notice we added the numerators together, but the denominators stayed the same. So 3 eighths plus 2 eighths was 5 eighths. It did not become 5 sixteenths. Right? That didn't all of a sudden change into 16 pieces. So 3 eighths plus 2 eighths is our 5 eighths. So when you add or subtract fractions with the same denominators, we simply add or subtract the numerators and the denominators remain the same. So let's have a look at a couple of examples. Evaluate, just a fancy word for find the answer for. So evaluate each of the following: 1/5 plus 3/5. You'll notice the denominators are the same, so we just add the numerators. So 1 plus 3 gives us 4, so 1/5 plus 3/5 gives us 4/5. Let's have a look at a subtraction question. Check the denominators. The denominators are the same. So we just go 7/10 minus 2/10. 7 minus 2. So just subtract the numerators and we get 7 minus 2 is 5. So 5/10. So don't forget to simplify if possible. So 5/10 actually does simplify. The highest common factor of 5 and 10 is 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 5/10 actually simplifies to 1/2, or 1/2. A third example, check to see if the denominators are the same, and they are. So 3/6 plus 4/6 gives us 7/6. So pretty simple, but you'll notice that this is an improper fraction, so we must change it to a mixed numeral. So you can look back at a previous video of how we do that, but just a quick rundown is we go how many 6's in 7? It goes 1, and there's a remainder of 1, so that remainder of 1 is a fraction of 1/6 left over. So that simplifies to 1 1/6. If you were to do that on your calculator, depending on how your calculator is set up, some of them will leave it as an answer of 7/6 as an improper fraction. And then you'll need to make sure you change it to 1 1/6 if it doesn't do so automatically. But what if the denominators are different? Well, we need to use equivalent fractions to change them so that the denominators then become the same. So let's have a look at an example here. We've got 1/2 plus 1/3. You'll notice that the denominators are different, so we need to change them so that they are equivalent denominators. To do that, let's look at our multiples of 2. Well, our multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, our 2 times tables. And our multiples of 3, so our 3 times tables, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And we want the lowest one in this case. So the lowest one that's common is 6. So our lowest common multiple there is 6. That means we need to change both of our fractions to being out of 6. Now that we've done that, to change the denominator of 2 to a 6, we've got to times it by 3, which means we need to do the same with the numerator, so 1 times 3, and that gives us our first fraction of 1/2 is the same as 3/6. Do the similar thing with 1/3, we need to change that 3 to a 6. So I've got to times 3 times 2 is 6. So I've got to multiply the numerator by that 2 as well. and 1 times 2 is 2. So we now have fractions there that have the same denominator. So 3/6 plus 2/6, simply add the numerators now. 3 plus 2 is 5, so we get 5/6. Again, your calculators will do all of that for you and get to that simplest answer straight away. So another example, if we have a look here, the denominators are different, so again we've got to change them. Let's look at our multiples of the first denominator here, the multiples of 4, which are our 4 times tables. And then we'll look at our multiples of 5, so our 5 times tables. And we want the lowest one that they've got in common, which in this case happens to be 20. So our lowest common multiple is 20, which means we're going to make them both out of 20. Now sometimes if you finding the lowest common multiple difficult, you can just multiply the denominators together. Sometimes it will be the lowest common multiple, so 4 5s are 20 like we just said over here, but it's not always the case. So make both fractions out of 20. So how do I change the 4 to a 20? Times it by 5, so 4 5s are 20. Have to do the same with the numerator, so equivalent fractions, so 3 5s are 15, so we get 3/4 is the same as 15 out of 20. Do the same type of thing with the second fraction. How do I change a 5 to a 20? Well, times it by 4. Have to do the same with the numerator, so 2 times 4 gives us 8. So we've got our equivalent fractions there, same denominators. So now we just do 15 minus 8, which is 7. So 3/4 minus 2/5 is the same as 7/20. So that's the basics of fractions with different denominators. But what happens if the question involves mixed numerals? Well, one method that I like to use, because I use this for also multiplying and dividing as well, is to change the mixed numerals to improper fractions first. If the denominators are different, we will again need to use equivalent fractions to change them so that the denominators are the same. So let's have a look at an example. 3 2/5 minus 1 9/10. Change the mixed numerals to improper fractions. So if you can't remember how to do that, then make sure that you go back and have a look at a previous video. So what I do is I go take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number, so 5 3s are 15, and then add the numerator, gives us 17. So 3 2/5 is the same as 17/5. And with the second fraction, 10 times 1 is 10, plus 9 is 19. So we get 17/5 minus 19/10. Still, we can't add or subtract them. In this case, subtract, because the denominators are different, so we need to change them so that they're the same. And in this case, the lowest common multiple is not found by multiplying them together. So the lowest common multiple is not 50, ends up being 10. So multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20. Multiples of 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. Lowest one that they've got common is 10. So going to make them both out of 10. You notice the second fraction's already out of 10, so I don't need to change it. But to change this one, I would have to multiply that by 2, and then 17 times 2 gives us 34. Now that we've got the denominators the same, 34 take away 19, and that gives us 15 over 10. Again, it's still improper, so we've got to remember to make sure we simplify this answer if it can. So we're going to change that improper to a mix. So how many 10s in 15? There's 1 whole and 5 left over. So 1 whole and 5 left over. But don't forget to check this part. 5/10 also simplifies. So just simplify that fraction part. Highest common factor of both of these is 5. 5s into 5 go once, and 5s into 10 go 2, so we get 1.5 there. Again, you can just put this straight on your calculator if you're allowed to use them at any stage. but just be careful when you're putting in a mixed numeral into your calculator that you do so properly, because I know a few students who actually do that incorrectly and get an incorrect answer. So let's have a look at another one. Here we've only got one mixed numeral. The other one's a whole number. Change the mixed numeral to an improper fraction first. So 7 2s are 14 plus a 4 gives us 18 on 7. So we've got 5 minus 18 sevenths. I'm also going to change the whole number to an improper fraction with the same denominator. So what we want to do is change it over 7. And so I've got to multiply that by 7. And 7 5s are 35. So 35 on 7 minus our 18 on 7. Denominators are the same now. So just subtract them. 35 minus 18 gives us 17 sevenths. We've got an improper fraction there, so don't forget to simplify that to a mixed numeral. 7 into 17 goes twice, and we have 3 left over, so we've got 2 and 3 sevenths. So a little bit more involved than those last couple of examples, but what you now need to do is practice some more, and practice again. And the more you do it, just like in sport, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, and maybe you might be interested in watching some further ones later on.